Hello folks, this is Samuel6710 doing Metroid Prime 100% speedrun. I am joined by Jeff Games and Games and Uncle Reggie. Say hello.
Hello?
Reggie,
Hello.
there you go. Wonder where
I
you
said
went for a second.
hello too fast.
Alright, so yeah, I say we just get started on the run. It's a very movement heavy, technical run, but it's very fast and it's very enjoyable to watch, I'd say. So yeah, let's get this show on the road, shall we?
I wonder where we'll find space jump.
That's a great question. Alright, I'll let you two take the ropes for a while, and I'll get up my
Okay.
game on.
So the first room in the game, Sam is going to need to hit some targets to lower barriers that will allow him to progress further throughout the room. We're going to see some of the first uses of the most important mechanic in the speedrun, which is dashing. Jeff, would you like to dig into a little bit of what dashing is and how we'll use it?
Yeah, so dashing is a pretty powerful tool. It can be done with either scan visor or combat visor if you scan off of an enemy, or if you lock onto an enemy. Pretty much what's happening is Samus has no sideways movement cap, and when you press B and move to the side, you will launch Samus to the side. Normally when you're holding L though, Samus will slow back down after a little while. So what you do is you let go of L after a few frames, I think it's about 7 frames, then that slowdown will never happen and you will fling yourself across the map, or the room.
Yep. So the great thing about dashing is it allows you to traverse great distances, which you are not intended to go. And there are many places where you can hit like triggers to load the next rooms faster, or cross very large gaps without certain movement items. It saves a lot of time. Cody being a little bit of a bully here. Sam is doing a bomb jump here to skip needing to go around the entire course of this room, which is a little bit slow. It's a little bit risky as far as energy values go. There's several space pirates that, though wounded, can deal a fair amount of damage, and we're going to need hit points for the next couple of rooms here just in case things decide to be aggressive.
Yes, these turrets are not playing around.
We are coming up on the first quote-unquote boss of the tutorial area here in the uncrashed frigate Orpheon, the Parasite Queen. Normally, you're expected to scan the boss and discover that she has a weak point in her face, but since we know that the weak point is there, we can just aim there without needing to scan her and rapidly launch a bunch of missiles at her face. Like so.
Also, he did say uncrashed frigate, and spoiler alert, this thing is going to crash.
No.
Oh my gosh, an escape sequence in a Metroid game? I would never.
That's great. Maybe we're gonna lose all our items. That never
Oh,
happens
gosh.
in Metroid games.
Evacuate immediately.
Except, you guys aren't gonna be able to see that.
Nice bunny hops. While holding L and R and moving across surfaces, Samus preserves a little bit of her speed, so you can rapidly move throughout rooms and perform these bunny hops to preserve your speed. Very nice.
Sam,
Out
watch
of
out, you're out
bounds.
of bounds.
Oh no.
So, we're gonna talk about how every room is in a box.
Yeah, we can absolutely talk about how every room is inside of a box. In order to make hardware that is old perform well, the rooms in the game are wrapped in something called an ether box that is typically lined up to the edges of the geometry of the room. In these ether boxes, Samus's gravity physics react as expected, but while outside of the ether boxes, Samus just stands as if she were on the ground. We have a 3-frame window in which we can jump when re-entering the box, which is called ether jumping, and that allows us to climb a room without touching any physical collision for the room. Doing this without the space jump upgrade is a little bit more challenging, as you don't have the ability to jump again in midair. And that does make things significantly more difficult versus having the item that lets you do so.
Yes, and it should be noted that if you do not get the jump and you fall off, you do not have full control of Samus, and you will fall in the direction that you were moving when you left the ground, and so that can make you fall all the way down to the bottom of the box, which is very unfortunate.
Yep. It looks like Sam's touching some weird pieces of collision. I wonder what that is about.
Yeah, so inside each of these rooms are these invisible triggers that load the next room. So although it might seem better to go directly from door to door, it can actually be faster to touch these triggers and get the room loading first, so that by the time you make it to the door will open instead of just waiting there. So that's why Sam's taken these kind of unique paths to maybe drop down and morph and then bomb back up so that the load triggers hit. And that's a lot of memorization of where these are throughout the rooms.
Right. And if you haven't noticed, we just beat the tutorial, and believe it or not, we just actually lost all our items, because you are normally supposed to go through a sequence where you get blown up by something, and all of a sudden you have nothing except the pea shooter that is Power Beam. So as you can see here, I no longer have any of the goodies I did at first. I don't have missiles anymore, so we have to go get those. But while we're at it, we're just going to pick up Space Jump and skip about a third of the way into the game.
So this is arguably the most important upgrade in the vanilla run and the speed run. Getting that item first allows you to do so many movement exploits that are normally just not anywhere near as fast without them, or straight up not even possible until we get bombs and Morph Ball, which allow for a number of unique movement exploits, but Space Jump is so fast and so useful in so many different places.
Correct.
Yeah. Scan dashing just gets that much stronger with it. Sam is going to be flying through these next couple of rooms, and Main Plaza is a great example, being such a large room. It also allows us to get an early missile expansion instead of having to go fight Hive Totem.
Now, normally you would get the energy tank. That's on the other side of Main Plaza there, using a trickle Space Jump, but it is actually faster to go back for that, since we are, as you can tell, 100%ing this game. So we want to pick up every single item, and we want to do it in the most efficient way possible. So you may see me skipping some items that seem to be on the way, when in reality we are actually going back to those later to pick up other items that are nearby it as well.
Yeah.
Yep,
And oftentimes we'll have more utilities with us to do those checks faster.
Yep. There are reasons that we have to come back to zones anyway, so leaving certain items until we have the tools to get what we have to come back for is faster, because it saves you from having to traverse segments of rooms multiple times. So this is one of the oddball rooms in the game where everything just auto loads that it's attached to. There are, I believe, only a few instances of that happening in the game at all. Ruined Fountain being one of them. There we go.
Might as well pick up the Nestle
Nice,
now.
clean
Doesn't waste any
movement.
time.
Hop over. Oop, a little bonk there.
It's okay. As we say, everything in this game is standable, so we just get a nice little recovery there.
Yep. The enemy that just gave Sam a wee slap in there is a fun one. The internal name for it is called Spankweed.
It does live up to its name.
That it does.
Alright, so we just got Charge Beam, and we get this early because while we do want to come back here for the other items, we want better utility to actually do them. But we get Charge Beam immediately because it is just extremely useful for combat. So we might as well get it now. It'll make a lot of fights much more fast.
Yep. Also, the tractor beam quality that Charge Beam has is incredibly useful for drawing in health and ammo pickups.
Like so.
Ammo will play a key role later. Thankfully, in 100%, we will have much more of it. But Prime's drop systems can be a little bit of an issue since it's not dependent on your current inventory, but just based on static drop rates for each room.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, since we did end up skipping that E-Tank, we do have to get through this with no E-Tanks. And while a lot of the time it is faster to traverse through rooms by just ignoring enemies and going through lava if you're in lava areas, it is a little risky. We will get more soon, but for now we're going to have to face our good friend Zoid here, we call him, with no E-Tanks rather.
Yep. The incinerator drone here is called Zoid because the programmer, Zoid Kirsch, who is responsible for the algorithm that decides how long it takes in between phases of the vulnerability period, has done such great things for us by causing this to have the ability to lose up to a minute.
A lot of time, yep.
Though it is usually somewhere right around the middle of the road. You can have some really fast ones or some really slow ones.
So far this actually been a really good Zoid.
Yeah.
If the music loops, right? Is that
Yes.
the sign if you've got a bad one?
If music loops, then it's not a great Zoid, and if it does not loop, then you have an actually really solid Zoid. This fourth phase is always the most wacky, we'll see. Somewhat rough fourth phase,
Bad,
but still
not
a
bad.
good Zoid. Very forgiving.
Now we get Morph Ball Bombs, which are very helpful. They allow a number of movement-based exploits, as well as the ability to break certain objects in rooms that will hide items that are very important because of the category.
Speaking of which, we got our first one right behind Zoid here.
Very nice instant on Morph.
Yes.
Totally
We might as well
intended.
explain those.
Yeah, the Morph Ball has a separate camera state from the first-person vision of the game, and if the camera is obstructed just well enough, instead of watching the animation of Samus unmorphing, she will just instant unmorph, and we can use that to do something that's called a bomb space jump, or a BSJ, which I think is that used in your route, Sam?
I will use it for a room later on when going to various
Oh,
soup.
that's correct. Yes, Arboretum, good old tree place.
So don't blink because we've already made it to out of bounds.
Yep.
So this is
doing
Ice Beam before
the-
Flagra.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need to know what that is, it's we're getting Ice Beam before Flagra. Yeah, so by doing this, we skip quite a few requirements, as well as this big, long puzzle in Energy Core. It's fairly technical. There's a lot of rooms. If you fall quite far down, so it can be quite punishing. But getting the Ice Beam early is just one more thing that we don't have to route in later.
Ooh, some spicy movement strats here.
Yeah, unfortunately my jump did get consumed here earlier there, which we may also want to consider talking about. Actually, we should probably address the elephant in the room, which is limited influence.
Yeah, so if you walk off of a surface, you lose the ability to decide where Samus is going to most of the degree. You can still turn using the R button to get a little bit of control over which direction you're heading, but it's kind of like steering a car on ice. You don't really
No pun
have
intended.
full control. Yeah.
Also, nice job.
Thank you.
Yeah, very, very clean wall crawl. So Sam used the door there by shooting it, causing the short tunnel room to instantly load around him. That is safe in only a few locations. There are definitely rooms where if you don't hit the load trigger for the room and force load it, like what was just done, the game will crash because it will run out of memory. Good old GameCube.
Yes.
Ooh.
There we go.
There we are.
Oh, by the way.
Oh, there we go. Secret tunnel.
Secret tunnel.
Uh,
I think you should be the one to explain that, Reggie. There's nobody else.
yeah. That tunnel exists for literally no reason. The vanilla path through the room is perfectly acceptable and passable, but the for whatever reason, Retro decided we needed a secret tunnel in that room. It does lose, I think it's like a second and a half slower to go through secret tunnel, but it is very worth it for the meme.
Yeah, this item is
Crossway
a
here.
tech.
Yeah, what we're doing is we're trying to get Samus's standing collision box into a box that is designed for the morph ball, but that slot there was just barely big enough to get Samus's standing box inside. But if you have too much velocity, either upward or downward, it won't quite let you in. You kind of need the Goldilocks just right spot in order to fit in there.
Yeah, you also actually also need your vertical velocity to be rather low, which is an interesting quirk about it that I actually didn't know until semi-recently.
Yep, if you're moving too fast upward or downward, it will not let you in.
Yep. We also get our first E-tank here.
The most important E-tank in the run.
Yes, because we
Doubles
will
your health.
be going to an area later on with very few E-tanks when you're only supposed to have quite a few, so...
I wonder what area that could be.
You never know. Now we are going to come up on the best boss fight, or cutscene, some people call it.
Yep.
It's almost a minute and a half, if I'm correct, for the full Flagra fight.
For RTA, yes.
Yeah, that's about right.
This game, the speedruns of this game are timed with the in-game timer, which cuts out cutscenes. I think that fight takes... Geez, I don't even know how much RTA compared to IGT. It's something.
Here's that bomb space jump we were talking about. So by obscuring the camera, Sam is able to get Samus to instantly unmorph, and when you do that, the game thinks you're on the ground for a few frames, and you're actually able to get a jump out of it. So that's how he was able to climb that room so fast.
Yep, I think it's a 22 frame window that's available for you to input the jump in animation,
Yep.
or the jump input after doing the bomb jump and leaving the ground, which in a game that runs at 60 frames per second, it's a third of a second of accuracy, which sounds like a lot, but really isn't.
Yes, since the instant morph allows you to regain control, I mean, I think it's immediately. It allows you to have however many frames are left after you exit Wormhole. Anyways, now we have Flogger here. As you can see, this is the first of many cutscenes we're going to be seeing. Now, normally you're supposed to shoot down these solar panels, so we can completely mitigate that because the bomb slots here aren't actual bomb slots. They are just damage triggers that are triggered by morph ball bombs and also power bombs, fun fact. We'll get those later. So you can just bomb them outside and they work perfectly fine. However, it does mess up Flogger's animation. So
this
she'll
is
be doing
fine.
this for a while. Thankfully, we don't
She's
take any
very
damage.
mad that Sam is cheating.
Yes. However, unfortunately, she can't do much because 90% of her attacks are when Samus is in tangent. This fight, however, can get very scary very quickly if you mess up anything, especially if you're doing a run where you do not have space jump here. But thankfully, these strats are very consistent, and you can always use them to make her do stuff like that and just go away from you.
Just broke Flogger's ankles there.
Yeah, well, that's Flogger dead. And we're going
There we
to
go.
secure our Various suit because we are going to head into Magmor Caverns directly after this and pick up some items there. Then we'll move on to Fen and pick up our next major item.
So for watching this cutscene, our reward is another cutscene.
Yep.
We sure do love cutscenes.
Various suit. Let's go play more of the game, guys. Nope.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, and it's fusion, very good.
Yes. You can unlock the fusion suit in this game by hooking up your Game Boy copy of Metroid Fusion. It does require a little bit of an elaborate setup, but if you've got it, you can do it.
The Varia suit, in addition to making you immune to heat damage from the ambient temperature in rooms, also provides a 10% damage reduction from all sources, which is very helpful. Gravity suit will reduce damage by 20%, and Phazon suit will reduce it by 50%, effectively doubling the amount of energy tanks we have.
Yes, and we will be getting a lot of E-tanks, given that we're getting all of them, so think of it as about a
All
combined
14.
total of, what, 28 E-tanks?
Yep, effectively.
Quite a bit, but we won't see that for a while. So now we're entering Magmor. Magmor's definitely... It can definitely be very punishing in terms of movement, since there's lava practically everywhere, and if you want to go fast, then sometimes it's fastest to just move through lava. So we may see some of that here. This first trip in Magmor, however, tends to mitigate as much as we can, but as we get later on to the run, we will start to see some more lava-infested rooms.
Go, abusing more dash techniques to move quickly through the room. And this is the great cutscene. At the end of it, it positions us to missile some boxes at the end of the room that are in the way of a morph ball tunnel that we need bombs to open. So we just watch the cutscene. It sets us up perfectly to shoot a missile. And then we grab our first artifact, which would be a fun thing to talk about.
Yep.
Yeah, so we've got 12 artifacts scattered throughout the planet of Talon, and they are needed to trigger the final events of the game. Once you round up all 12, you can fight Ridley in the Artifact Temple, and then that'll give us access to the Impact Crater, and the final boss is Metroid Prime. Exo and Essence, as they're usually referred. It should be noted that there are hints for the artifacts at the Artifact Temple, but we will not be grabbing those since I'm pretty sure Sam knows where they are.
I would certainly hope so.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. Oops. They have anger issues. Yeah, those little triclops get very grabby with you. Alright, so we're just
They
gonna
have
pick
a
up
very
these two
magnetic
missiles here.
personality.
Oh my god. Yeah, if you haven't read the lore of them, they have these magnetic properties that turn out really work well on the metal morph ball. So you gotta wiggle past them. But yeah, we just grabbed these two missiles here. They're on the way. We do not have to come back to this area. We're normally supposed to have X-ray visor to get the item in the pillar, because there are some invisible platforms that you will have to follow in order to actually get the item, but you can just skip that by doing a scan dash.
Yeah, there are some turrets in this room, but we don't really feel like dealing with them, so we're just skip most of the room and climb up some Sandoval, and we're gonna grab another energy tank here.
Yep. Very nice. This is the last one we're gonna get for quite a while.
Here we go. So we have successfully made our first pass through the hallway of Talon Overworld. Magmore is effectively a long tunnel. The room layout is just a very long series of stretched out lateral rooms.
Think of it as a very long hotel hallway where you would like to go to each room, which is a different area, but think of the hallway as being extremely long.
And also the air conditioning does not work in about half of it.
Yes, and also the floor is lava.
The floor is in fact lava.
You know, personally, I probably would give it like maybe a 2-star review on Yelp. Not the biggest fan. Could use maybe a little more lava. I don't know. Kind of absent.
Could use some more fans.
Alright, so normally supposed to go through a lot of different platforms in order to traverse that room normally, but we can just skip that by using some neat little standables and also a slope jump, which I use over there, which I think we should explain.
Yeah. When moving up a diagonally sloped surface, when you jump, the momentum from moving upward is added to your jump momentum. So you gain a little bit of extra height depending on the steepness of the slope. It's useful in gaining just a little bit more height in situations where you normally wouldn't be able to jump as high.
Sam, you're a little bit too slow to grab that wave beam there.
Yeah, unfortunately, got caught.
What a shame.
Yeah, now we have to go fight these angry babies.
Ooh. Very angry babies.
Very angry.
That one is
Not a
kind
fan
of
of
being
me.
annoying there. There you go, nice refill.
Uh-oh, it's an even bigger baby. Except this one's the
Oh,
mama.
mommy is angry.
Yeah, she's pretty angry.
So the adult Sheegoth here has a unique vulnerability box that two of them overlap. She's vulnerable in the belly to the Morphball Bomb, but she's also vulnerable near the edge of her jaw and where the leg shoulder meets. So you can overlap some damage there by doing Morphball Bombs and then rapid fire a couple missiles and hit the vulnerability spot in the jawline.
Gonna take a quick pit stop there for some missiles. They're gonna be very useful later.
Yeah, now we have the second beam of the game. Usually the first. Wave beam blocks most of the early game off, so it's very important to get so we can traverse, you know, the kind of like the middle third of the game almost.
Correct.
Wave
It
beam,
does lock off
please.
quite a lot. Yeah, I
That
got
wave
sucked up by
shot is
the.
amazing. The
Yes.
fall stun knocked the arm cannon up. So there are
Dash was too
ooh,
good.
almost. A little slippery there. When falling from extreme heights, Samus will take fall stun, which sounds like she's taking damage because she makes a grunt sound and she is unable to shoot for a brief period of time.
Well, you're technically not wrong about that, but deals a extremely infinitesimally small amount of damage. Alright, so now we're gonna grab another major right next to that wave beam. Is Boost Ball? Whoops.
Ooh. So some of these dashes, you don't really get to look at where you're going, so you kind of just have to feel them out.
Yep.
And in this room in particular, it's really easy to hit one of the floating platforms. Even if you are far enough forward, depending on how fast you move through, the little snow cone guy can be in just inconvenient enough of a spot that your dash direction causes you to do a little bump.
Yes. And those little guys will do a lot of knockback if you let them.
Crystal Light's OP.
And just think, now we logically should be going back to all the way back to landing site and grabbing space jump with the boost ball.
Yep.
Yep.
That's how powerful that space jump first is.
Well, I'll usually take you about several hours, and we're only about, what, half an hour in?
Yeah.
Perfectly
That
normal
boost
speed.
ball is very important in terms of speed. There are some places where it's required to get an item in the vanilla intention, but it is so fast for moving through, especially long morph ball tunnels.
Yes, the primary reason we get it isn't because it's required for anything, it's because it's just super speed.
It also has one unintended function at the end of the game that we'll be able to talk about later.
Yeah, we'll
Yes,
save that
small one.
surprise.
Alright, so now is where energy really becomes a factor. This is probably, I'd say, the cutoff point for people who are good at 100% speedruns and people who are still new to it, is because we are going to labs, and you're normally supposed to have, like, I don't even know, 5 E-tanks maybe? Ish. But we currently
Yeah,
have
4 to
2.
5.
We have 2 right now, which is definitely not as good, so we just have to be a little bit careful here. Doing little trick called
This is a
charge
very-
storage, where you can open
very
up your
combat
scan
heavy.
visor and charge a shot at the same time. Although it did miss that pirate.
There we go, abusing some nice standable. We're coming up on one of my favorite pieces of room tech, I guess. Getting super missiles here is a very important item. There are a couple of things that are locked behind getting it. And normally you're expected to lower the platform here, but we didn't, and now the item cutscene repositions you to fall down to the bottom of the room. So what Sam did was unlocked the room by killing the pirate, grabbing the item, the door unlocks, and Sam gets repositioned down. And now we have super missiles, and we're gonna go back and get this item.
Yep. Never coming back here, so we got this now. Also, we freeze these turrets because they are extremely rude.
They hurt a lot and deal a significant amount of knockback, which is always super inconvenient.
They are in the running for being more annoying than the crystal lights, I'd say. Or the inverted snow cones, if you prefer that terminology. Alright, now we're coming up on control tower here, and there's a couple neat things to talk about that my comms here will be able to cover.
Yeah, Jeff, take this one.
Yeah, sure. So right off the bat, you'll notice that there's no pirates here, and that is because by doing some fairly not exactly precise movement, but at least with the knowledge, knowing that there's a trigger right in front of the door to activate the pirate fight, it extends a little bit into the room, and there's enough space for you to actually jump up and get right by it, and so you miss the trigger completely. You never have to fight the pirates. The doors don't lock. And then right after that, because all these boxes are still here, we can actually use them as a standable to jump just high enough to aim a missile over top of this kind of invisible force field on the sides of the room and get the artifact of world, I believe.
I believe that's the
Early?
artifact of Elder.
Elder?
It is
That's
hard
the
to
one.
tell. I'm pretty sure they just hit shuffle near the end of them because there's quite a few that don't make sense. For instance, a room called Warrior Shrine, you would think would have the artifact that's named Artifact of Warrior, right? But
One
hold
would
a
think.
180, and it's actually called the Artifact of Strength. Not sure where that
Yes,
came
that
from.
one is. Good job, Retro.
Also, Metroid.
Yeah, there's Metroids in this game?
That's crazy.
Yes. Shoutouts to Edward. It's the pirate that breaks the glass right there.
That was Elder in Control Tower.
There we go.
Right. Alright, there's our 30 tank.
Which is really well timed now that we've gone through all of these rooms in labs. Getting a refill is very, very much so appreciated.
Alright, we're gonna do a personal favorite trick of mine. Oh, or not. Whoopsie. Normally the camera will be facing down there, but it is a little finicky sometimes. It's dependent on whether or not you're holding R.
Okay, so we have 3 different scan panels that are needed to open up this item location here. So we get the thermal visor, but because we are very afraid of the dark, we're just gonna leave out the back of this ice door, which is
Yes.
one of the major benefits of getting Ice Beam first, is being able to bypass those gatekeeping moments where the game says, all right, now backtrack. But we get to say, no, I don't want to do that.
Yep. Inexplicably, turns out the thermal visor was actually the power source, so the entire of Pirate Labs will now be in complete darkness, and we're not about any of that. So we're gonna head out, and we're gonna go get a really nice item called the Plasma Beam.
Definitely a hot commodity.
I just got it. Hilarious. Yeah, hilarious. This is get used to this, folks. We got Uncle Reggie. You'll be here all night.
Yep. Stay with me for at least another hour and 10 minutes.
Yep. Now, speaking of Plasma Beam, the methods of getting it are varied. Now, the vanilla one requires you to have, well, first off, Grapple Beam, which is something you don't get till much later on. And you were also intended to have Power Bombs at that point, but that is not currently. It is a requirement on different versions.
Yep.
Yep. If you got introduced to Metroid Prime from Remastered, then you might be thinking, isn't there debris in front of the door up here? But thankfully, on the GameCube version, that is not the case.
I was not aware that you could do a BSJ there.
Okay. It is very fast, but it's
That is
also
cool.
very tricky. I see, didn't quite get it there, but I can get another try real quick by entering this tunnel. Actually, change the camera. There we go.
Nicely done.
Whoop.
There are tons of camera force triggers while you are in Morph Ball, and there are many locations that you can abuse that to set yourself up for those BSJs.
Indeed. You can also do something simply just called an IUJ, which is an instant morph jump. And the only difference with BSJ is that you don't have to lay a bomb for this. Because while bombs may give you height, there's other stuff that can also give you speed as a result of IUJs.
Very nice eagle jump. By doing a sloped R jump off of the morph ball spider track there, Sam skipped a very, very large spider ball puzzle that
I can
wraps
give you
around
guys
the
a peek real
entire
quick,
top of the
because
room.
that room has to load. It is a very lengthy part, and we don't even have spider ball yet, so.
So it might seem strange to make a detour just for a single item, but that plasma beam opens up several item locations that are locked behind ice, as well as a very, very picky plasma door at the far end of Fendrana Drifts that has an artifact, and we definitely want to not have to backtrack for that.
Correct. That is our primary requirement here, is that artifact, and it is all the way at the end of Fen, quite literally called Fendrana's Edge. So we're gonna have to make a bit of a detour for that, but we can also pick up some nice stuff on the way, including power bombs. And you do not actually need that main giant glowing lemon to use power bombs.
Plasma Beam also has the highest damage output out of any of the beams that Samus has in her arsenal. A charge can insta-kill a large amount of enemies by causing them to burn to ash.
Yes, these flying pirates right here who are very much angry will get one shot by charged plasma. It is amazing. Alright, just securing our 4th E-Tank here in Magma Workstation. You can skip this puzzle, but it's very hard to actually save time with it. So now we are just going to head all the way back through Fendrana because we want to go take care of the far side of it. And we want to go grab that power bomb because right after we're done, we're going to go fight Thardus, which is the boss fight that you normally do to pick up the spider ball. And it is a very long, drawn-out fight, but having plasma beam and also the power bomb that we are going to secure will make it much faster. So yeah, once again, you will also need Spider Ball and Vanilla to get up this, but not necessary whatsoever.
Playing this game as a speedrunner has ruined basically all other games for me. I now attempt to stand on everything.
Same here.
So we like to say that if it looks like you can stand on it in this game, you probably can, and even if it doesn't, you probably still can.
Yeah, Samus has really tiny feet.
Yes.
But very long toes.
Fun fact about Samus's hitbox herself, she's actually just a completely static, non-moving rectangular prism. And the only time that will ever change is when she's in Morph Ball. Oops.
So using some slope jumps here to get out. Underwater, they are much more powerful and much more apparent. Although there is a little bit more of technicality to it in that if you were next to a wall, the physics will pull you down. So all you have to do is tap into the slope and jump and then move away from the wall and you'll get an absurd amount of height.
Fortunately, our little friend, the Hunter Metroid there, wasn't too happy with us. So, welcome to Fendrana's Edge. The developers were nice enough to place 2 flying pirates right here that you tend to not want to deal with, but sometimes they can fire missiles at you here and they will do a lot of knockback, so sometimes it's just best to get rid of them.
Yep. So we are going to abuse some standable, some slope jumping, and some nice dashing to climb this room without needing grapple beam, which gets us this lovely item, our first power bomb expansion. Even though we only get 1 from this, tall rooms.
Yes.
Gotta love them.
Metroid Prime has a lot of tall rooms.
It has a lot of them, and they all suck to fall down. The main power bomb upgrade gives you 4 ammunition for the power bombs. So we're kind of limited in that we only have 1, but it is still very useful. There are some pretty targeted spaces throughout the game that we know that have higher drop chances, because every room has a set drop chance for its ammo and health options.
Yes. However, these are actually quite sparse in this area. There is one location where I will try to get a power bomb, and if I don't, then I'm gonna have to try and see if we can get one in some more unorthodox locations. And if we don't, then oh well. No, here's
This
another-
drone has a 5% chance to drop one.
Yes. I may actually.
But that's a
try
really
it,
low
but-
chance.
Alright.
There's a very nice sloped jump there to get that item. Normally you need plasma beam and grapple beam, but we don't have grapple beam, and we don't really want to use it anywhere because dashing is almost always faster.
Correct. The only time grapple ever sees unironic use is in max percent NSJ, which is a wildly different category despite seeming so similar.
It
Now we
turns
have
out
grapple suit.
space jump is very good.
Indeed. Alright, now we have the purple yogurt suit, which allows us to move fast in water. Gel zaps being gel zaps. Those little guys can really mess you up if you're not careful.
It can also deal a lot of damage.
Alright, well, I get it. Nope. There we go.
Nice. Go wait for the sound of the pickup, and we can move on. So that power bomb is going to speed up the fight with our angry rock significantly. If you lay a power bomb at the very beginning of the fight, you can skip 2 damage phases on it, which is incredibly useful.
Oh, nice damage boost.
Just a little bit more to make sure you made it.
How kind.
So another thing important to note that's been happening throughout the run is Sam has been switching the beams for the next door well in advance. So that means memorizing every single room so that you know which doors are coming up, because the beam transitions, if you're waiting at a door, they add up.
Yep, you can lose a couple of seconds in front of every door, waiting to unmorph and then switch the beam and then move through the door.
Yes. So, muscle memory will really help. Now, each of these rocks can be destroyed with precisely 1 fully charged plasma shot and a single missile, so that will be the primary source of doing damage. Thardis also accidentally stole Samus's morph ball, and she did not file any copyright strikes, so you'll sometimes do that, and you're gonna have to whip out the sniper rifle and get to work.
Samus really needs to get on those DMCA claims.
Certainly. Alright, so Thardis is Anki, and now decided to put the weaknesses in his limbs in different spots. Oh, also use the morph ball boosty out of the way.
It's a very important tool.
Yeah, so while Thardis is rolling around, the game does not let you lock onto the weak points, but if you just manually aim, you can get some damage in and hopefully destroy the rocks a little bit faster.
So sometimes Thardis' rolling path can be a little uncooperative. some of the rocks need to be hit from a very specific angle. Like this one will only allow damage to come from the bottom dark point of the rock. If you hit it on the upper point, it will not take damage at all.
Yes. Alright, now Thardus is entering final phase. It's just going to be one pretty meaty weak point in his chest. I am going to try and use some missile spam to effectively destroy it. When I think about it, we never actually talked about spamming missiles.
Oh yeah.
You may have seen that Parasite Queen in the very first boss fight of the game.
Yeah, the missiles have a little bit of a cooldown between each shot, but by holding the C-stick up in the power beam and pressing Y over and over again, you're actually able to skip that cooldown by having the beam kind of transition back and forth between power beam and missiles, and you can spray the missiles out quite a bit faster. It's a very high DPS method of firing.
Correct. That will be our primary source of damage besides Plasma Beam from now on. Or, not from now on, just it always has been.
Always has been.
Anyways, Thardus.
Always has been.
Thardus is dead. And we are rewarded with the Spider Ball. That's not the right way. And this will allow us to traverse some sort of unorthodox parts of the map. So now we're going to return back here, because now that we have the Plasma Beam, we can unlock several of those checks that are locked in ice. We are also going to get this item here that I skipped earlier, for the sake of time.
Yep, now that we have Plasma Beam, we have access to several items, one of which is another artifact, so very, very important to grab.
Yes. We also
And another
want-
power bomb, which is very handy.
Yes, we are actually going to need it here very soon. And we're actually going to try and get a drop for one, because we're going to use two of them for a similar task. Also, on a side note, the game does like to eat your jumps. Call it. Everyone.
Nice.
Oh yeah, Ridley's here. He was kind of supposed to be here right after you get Boost Ball and come back, but we just did like, I want to say, I'd say 70% of the game, maybe 65%, and he's here now, a little late to the party. So yeah, we don't really care about him because we're supposed to be going that way, but who wants to go that way? Yeah, we have to fight these drones here because they spawn after getting Thermal Visor and Research Labs.
And they lock the door as soon as they see you.
So Plasma allows us to get that, and Spider Ball allows us to get this item right here.
No HBJs today.
Nope. You will see a very interesting bomb ship later on, however. And ironically, I think I'll be the one to best explain that. Because bomb jumps have much, much more complexity than they would seem. So yeah, just doing our Fendrana cleanup here, picking up every last item.
HBJs and I are not friends, but I don't mind UBJs. I think they're fun. TM.
Yep, they're fun until they're not.
Yep.
So picking up what we call the lighthouse item here. Now we're gonna go move on to this artifact that we actually skipped over. Now normally in a 90% speedrun you would get this before you get Plasma Beam, but since we have to go back through here to get the other Fendrana items, it was actually just faster to get it now.
Yes. Despite its name, Infinite Speed is actually slow.
It is very slow.
Yes. Takes a 50 seconds to actually do it. 1 frame bomb, by the way. There are many cutscenes where you are in Morph Ball, and you will receive about, I want to say, a frame. I'm pretty sure it's a frame. It might be plus or minus, or plus 1. And there is exactly, what, 3 things you could do, which is unmorph, lay a bomb, or lay a power bomb. Most of the time, we choose lay a bomb because it's funny, and everything else wastes resources or time.
With that, that's our first area fully cleared.
Yep, Phendrana is now done. Never gotta go back.
Wait.
So now we're just gonna get the remaining checks in Magmor, which is actually just gonna be 3, because 2 of them are locked by power bombs, and another one was just incommute to routes, so it's good to route in now.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Alright, this was the aforementioned Artifact of Strength that should be named Artifact of Warrior. We have it now. And just like that, we have another item right here under it. Gonna be our next power wall expansion. Try to get the wall boost there. I think wall boost might be fun to explain. We've got some downtime.
Yeah, sure. There's not much to it besides boosting into a sloped surface or a wall will let you gain some height. It allows you to traverse a few of the morph ball tunnels without bombs. It can be kind of painful though. The timings are fair. They can be quite different depending on what the slope you're actually running into is, but they're quite fun to pull off, and that's a prime example of one area where it can be used. Instead of having to wait for the bomb to go off, you can just hopefully boost wall boost up there to escape upper fire shore.
Now normally you're supposed to go through this series of morph ball tracks using, well, morph ball and bombs. But everything there is just standable, so you don't have to do any of that.
Who'd have guessed?
Just like that,
Imagine.
Magmor is done. So now we have a little bit of talent cleanup, but there's going to be quite a lot to get done later on. Don't worry, we will see that in about 10 minutes. So we are going to do a little bit of the few early talent checks rather, and we are going to move back to Chozo and use the new utility we have to get more checks. Oh, no way, I just got that.
Very nice.
Yeah, that jump is actually very hard to do.
Ooh, some spicy root cave strats.
Alright, now, may look like I'm flowing, these words. Comms, help me out.
Words do be hard. So we're skipping the requirement of grapple beam and X-ray to traverse this room. There's a bunch of invisible platforms that you're supposed to use to travel to get things, but we don't really want to wait to have those things. We want to get them now because we can. We're just abusing standable dashes to traverse the distance that grapple beam would normally take you. There is not a single in the game or single location for items in the game that is hard locked by grapple beam in the vanilla path. If you have space jump and good enough hands, you can skip every single grapple beam requirement in the game. Same with gravity suit.
Yep. Two of
They
the
are definitely
most
nice things
useless
to
items.
have, but there's one instance in particular where grapple beam is actually used in randomizer, but otherwise it's relatively useless. I'm looking at you or processing.
Now, I would normally get an item there immediately, but I'm going to try out getting it a little later. So now we're gonna, whoops. Alright, now we're gonna go grab Wave Buster. Arguably one of the best items in the game, just super duper useful with the utility.
Oh yeah.
You're almost to the amount of missiles needed to fight Flagra with it.
Oh, yes. You can actually fight Flagra without bombs or power bombs by using Wave Buster to drain all its health.
Yep. Need 225 missiles to kill Flagra without bombs. We have another cutscene reposition that's dropping down. Boop.
Yep, all those breakable blocks on the walls there lower the platforms, and since Sam did not lower the platforms, the game just says, hey, we'll put you in the same spot, the platform's not there, and yeah, you fall down.
Yeah, you can skip doing that entire sequence using a series of scan dashes. Once
Tower
again-
Light is one of my favorite movement pieces in the whole game.
Because once again, everything is standable. How did that miss the door?
Waving,
Sometimes, sometimes wave pellets can go pretty much wherever they want. Sumi played a beetle. And yes, if you don't realize, Samus is also standable, as you can see there.
That's a good thing to also mention. Enemies are standable.
Oh yes, a lot of enemies are standable, or you can get stuck on them to do some really weird shenanigans.
I just realized we don't get to see you stand on the Phazon pirate, do we? In Hundo.
No, you do. I think. Maybe I might. No, yeah, because... Oh, don't forget about this item. We will get to jump on a pirate set. In the meantime, here's a very cool looking strat.
Nicely done.
Yeah, having boost there is not necessary, but makes that way easier.
Or at the very least, faster.
That too.
And more stylish.
Certainly.
So if it saves time and it's stylish, it's hard required.
Yeah, we can't just go fast. We have to look good doing it.
Alright, so... Now we have to go get missile launcher, you know. Very important, required to actually use missiles.
Yeah, you have not been authorized to fire missiles yet.
Oh no.
We've been using black market missiles this whole time.
Yeah, the wish.com missiles. Yep, but now we got them.
Did you know you can press Y to fire missiles, Sam?
Wait, seriously?
Oh man.
Did you? Holy! Oh my god.
Mind-blowing tech.
Alright, now we're going to go back to Sun Chamber where we fought Flagra to go grab the Artifact of Wild. Now normally in A%, you would just do a bomb jump to actually just go and get that immediately, but since we are doing 100% and we're picking up all the requirements to do this room, we're just going to do it the way it was intended to. Oh, nice power roll. You're not complaining about that.
Nope.
Power bombs are very, very useful. There is a lot of stuff that is locked by power bombs, and not a lot of power bombs to spare.
Yep. Oddly enough, one of the easiest regions in the entire game to find power bombs is Chozo Ruins.
Yes.
For whatever reason.
A spooky ghost.
Oh, very
Oh,
spooky.
scary.
Yeah, we don't really care about these guys much, because we have this thing called super missiles. And thing is, super missiles are very effective against these guys, because they can only be damaged by power beam. So we can also do something called ghost juggling there, if you guys would like to explain that.
You can go with that, Reggie.
Okay. When a ghost is preparing to dash, you can hit them with a shot. Very, very clean. A charged shot to knock them backwards. A super missile will also work. So what Sam did is he shot a super missile, hit the ghost, use scan visor to bring up and cancel the like the cooldown of being able to take a shot, and then quickly charged a partial charge shot to hit the ghost and juggle it. So we only had to do one juggle because a partial charge and a super missile is enough to kill a ghost. But in doing so, you save a lot of RNG that ghosts are just absolutely full of. They're very chaotic. They will move wherever they want to. There are some, I guess, predispositions that they have. Like if they're far away from you, they will try to get close to you. And if they're close to you, they will try to get far away from you. But it's a giant pain trying to mitigate that RNG.
Right. So now we're just grabbing Vault. Once again, these bomb slots aren't the way they should be. These can actually be opened with power bombs. And also, if you haven't noticed, these bomb slots, and actually all bomb slots to some extent, can be triggered without actually putting the bomb directly in the slot. Which is really nice, because sometimes, especially in Corruption, where they did actually make it so they have to be in the bomb slots, really, really annoying.
Yeah, it feels like they made the area of effect of bombs continually get smaller and smaller from Prime 1 to 2 to 3.
Alright, so now we're going to see one of my favorite tricks.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you,
So-
War Wasp.
What a friend. Just trying to make sure you had a real easy thing to lock onto.
Yeah, I think he may actually go out of bounds with me.
So Sam went over to the front of this morph ball tunnel to hit the load trigger for this room. You're not intended to traverse it backwards, really ever. But by doing so out of bounds, we're going to skip a ghost fight and a puzzle required to get the item here in Training Chamber. So Sam's going to hit the loading trigger for the next room right here, transition into Training Chamber access, and then position himself above the item and do what's called a ceiling warp, which is where Samus's morph ball hitbox partially overlaps on a sloped part of the ceiling and allows her to pass through the ceiling. When a room's collision is partialized by having the room think you're in another room, some real funky things happen to the collision and allow you to break through into some really interesting situations.
Yes, that collision in particular
This
is
is
a little finicky.
Yeah, but it's one of the best uses of ceiling warping in any of the runs. The power bombs before bombs route in any percent also does that in this room that we're passing into right now.
Yep, but we got power bombs after bombs. Bit of an alternate route, alternate universe. Now we're also supposed to cross this gap with grapple beam, but doing a well-timed scan dash there, we can just completely skip it. Okay, that strat is too old. I haven't done it for a while. As you can see, there's a lot of different ways you can traverse a room in this game.
Oh yeah. Normally, after fighting Flagra, the game expects you to put the morph ball in that fountain and get launched into the spider track, but that takes time and we don't really want to do that, so we're just going to stand on stuff because we've proven that it's very, very good and favorite pastime of Samus's.
Alright, now we're on Shozo clamp duty. You know, I'd imagine Samus is a really good janitor because we have to go through all this map in fastest time possible. So I mentioned earlier that we would be coming back here once we get the correct stuff, and we definitely do. Because now we have Gravity Suit to get the item that's below. And you don't technically need to have it, but it is a lot faster and a lot safer. We're not going to get that just yet. It's actually faster to grab these items. There's actually a secret tunnel right here.
Not as secret though.
Whoops.
It's only a pseudo secret.
Yes. It's more like a semi-obvious tunnel. Alright, so there's our first one, and now we will get the item up here. My nemesis, the upper dynamo item. By the way,
Do you not get along with this item, Sam?
Nope. This item and I have quite the history together, so much so that I had to figure out a way to get it without actually having Spider Ball.
Ah, I see.
That wasn't absolutely terrible. For those who do not know, you can actually get this item without Spider by riding a Firefly all the way up top, which is very, very hard. So I decided to go out of bounds in the room and figure out they actually use the boost ball to do something called an infinite boost to get in bounds in that room. So speaking of out of bounds, I hope you are ready to see more of it because we are going to do this wall crawl that you saw from earlier, except it's got a little bit of a different kind of vibe to it.
Yep. This is the abridged version of IBBF called Puzzle Skip, because we are going to go to the other side of Energy Core and go back in bounds there. Sam is going to transition into Energy Core here and pass through the room, hit the loading trigger for furnace access, and then there we go. Boom. Now we don't have to do the puzzle. We're back in bounds. We want to get the item in upper furnace, which is the big reason that we did that. But we don't want to do the puzzle because that takes time and is slow.
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to skip it once just to do it the next time.
Whoops, limited influence. There's a good example of it at work there because the R button actually puts you in limited influence if you are in the air. Whoops, wrong side. I've actually had a beetle shoot me up onto the platform when I didn't have enough height. Alright,
What
so
a pal.
earlier we had skipped this ghost by using a well-timed scan dash, but we're back again because there's a couple items here that we want to get, and we can't do it without this guy being dead.
We have both a completion percent and an artifact here to grab.
This guy is a little more cooperative because it is a smaller room and he will tend to appear faster. We're also going to do something called a cutscene overlap right here. Oh, or not. Just barely missed the bomb there. But normally you would trigger the bomb slot there, which would activate a cutscene. And since defeating the ghost will also activate a cutscene, it will cause both the cutscenes to play alongside each other. Another one frame bomb.
It's more of an RTA save. It does save you a small amount of time from having to go from back in front of the statue up to the bomb slot. But that amount of time save is pretty minimal. Almost.
If you didn't notice, I tried to do a instant unmorph jump to get over the top of the statue to land here. Unfortunately, the statue is very thick.
Some nice camera manipulation to keep that morph ball tunnel in sight. It is extremely easy to get disoriented in that little energy tank spot.
That's the truth.
It kind of suffers from the USB superposition where the morph ball tunnel to get out is on the 5th facet of the wall you look at, even though there are only 4.
Yes, it gets very confusing very quickly when all the textures look identical. So yeah, since we have Plasma Beam, we can also grab this item while we're here. This is required, believe it or not. So now Chozo is just done. So we can move on to better things in life. We got places to be, PBs to get, slope jumps to not make.
This statue and I are not on good terms.
Yes, the beak of the statue is sloped, so you can use it to get a nice bit of height there using a slope jump. Speaking of which, another one off the stone toad, which is made out of butter, so I fell down there.
Let's see. So you'll do frigate on your way out of mines, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
So we go through this giant room that we're going to go through real quick called Main Quarry, and we are going to actually make a full loop around Phazon Mines here because we want to do crashed frigate. If you remember from the very start, that frigate actually crashed because a giant parasite fell through the reactor core. It's going to do some bad stuff. So we're going to have to go through that, get some items, and get out. There's going to be a really, really interesting trick when that does happen.
There you go. Abusing some standable to skip a spider ball pillar. And then we have one of the best rooms in the game, which is so good. We're going to do a double bomb jump here to hopefully avoid going into the half pipe.
It's okay, we got the recovery.
We did. The waypoint correction for guiding the morph ball while in boost ball. I was going to say, you better not.
I've gotten that first try many times before. I think it's actually faster than doing the room normally. Alright. Accidentally missed out on the visor there. Yeah, you can do a half pipe bomb jump, we call it. Up that, which I tend to coin as my very best bomb jump. And sometimes I get it first try and it's faster. I hope. And sometimes it doesn't. Alright, we have another artifact to grab here in the back of this room called Life Growth. Now, normally you're supposed to go through this lengthy sequence of going up a bunch of platforms and fighting some ghosts to unlock a morph ball tunnel, but we can actually just skip that completely using a standable and an R jump. Like so.
There we are.
No.
Okay, I
This
tried.
is just flexing.
I always do it.
Hubris.
It is hubris, but I embrace my hubris.
Don't worry, we'll leave that bomb jump for another bomb jump.
Yes, we have a significantly easier, but also very infamous bomb jump here known as bar skip. It's not great, but pretty consistent.
There we go.
Yeah, it might look like a simple double bomb jump, but the timings are very tight, and the movement you have to do to actually get the momentum going to push the morph ball through just a little hole between the bars and the roof of that cave there. It's fairly precise. You can lose a lot of time, and as much as you practice it, sometimes it just does not like to cooperate sometimes.
You can use boost ball to get a little bit of an extra boost if you're stuck near the top of the bars. Alright, so now we're entering Main Quarry, and we're actually going to do something rather interesting here because we need to come back here soon. Or we're going to loop our way out. And thing is, there's this giant barrier in the way that we don't want here. Oops, I did not scan that all the way. And you do that by activating these two scan points. So if you were to come back through this way, this thing would still be here and you wouldn't be able to go through. So we take care of this now and we come back later to go through it. Also, fun fact, this conduit right here that I activate using the wave beam is actually not triggerable using the charge beam for some reason. Excuse me,
Yep,
this pirate
it just
is-
reflects.
Pirate's very happy to see me. Alright. Playtime's over. Sorry, homie.
There we go.
Another
So
slope
normally,
to skip that spider track.
yep.
Yep.
Spider Truck's very slow.
Yes.
But great for dashing off of.
Welcome to Waste Disposal. Probably one of the slowest rooms in the game, but there are some pretty neat strats like that one that you can use to make it a little faster. Boost can actually provide some decent mid-air momentum if you time it right. Alright, we are now going to obtain the item we kept giving a lot of poop for, the grapple beam. Also, fun fact, you physically cannot skip that cutscene. Not sure why.
No, in later revisions of this game, there is a more interesting cutscene of acquiring grapple beam.
Yes. It actually
the
just uses the same one
0-0
as
version,
artifacts.
yeah, and the player's choice version both use just a pan around Samus animation for the cutscene, but in PAL and later, she actually puts her arm out and you get to see the grapple beam.
Yep, pretty
I guess
riveting.
the gear.
Oops. Alright, we have now entered the section of lower mines. This is definitely the most technically demanding part, not in terms of its tricks, but more so the execution of your speed strats. This is definitely the part that would separate the experienced runners from more so people who are still getting into it and may not be familiar with room strats. So we've got some pretty good showings. First thing we're going to do here is grab this item real quick, since we have power bombs. Now we are going to get the main power bombs here in a second, so we are going to be legally allowed to use them. Ooh, I got the frame one more. Let's go.
Nice.
Another cutscene where you have one frame of input after it's right as it starts, and you can use that one frame here to morph and save just a tiny bit of time.
So we're coming up on one of the only locations in the game where your inventory is actively red. In this room, on the other side of this door, the elite pirate in the tank only wakes up if you have plasma beam.
Oh. You want more? So if you haven't noticed there, the pirate just kind of tried to look at me and wasn't really successful in doing so. They actually will not attack you unless they directly face you. So if you just strafe around them, they will just not attack you. It's a very easy method of taking them down. Anyways, now for maze. I nearly got that.
So it is possible to skip the maze by going into the morph ball hole just a tiny bit and laying a bomb as you are rolling around the edge of it, and then rolling into it and letting the bomb knock you back out. You're able to skip the entire maze and just go into the center and fall through and get the item. But it's kind of tricky. There is a setup that you can use to make it more consistent, but it still requires some very precise execution.
Yes. And if you're a fan of Zoid, kind of came back there for a bit because that was also made by him. Because we had a random amount of squares you can have.
Yep, there's 300 different options for what the maze layout can be, and they are selected at time of game start.
And what's the difference between the max and the min?
Ooh, I want to say it's like I don't want to say 7. I think it's like 11. And 50.
It's a yeah. I think the high range is a 55. It's
so that maze was
within
high.
a couple
that
of
maze
that.
was not great. All right, now we are
but on the
going
low
through
end, it's
M2A,
yeah.
which is Personally, like one of my least favorite rooms in this game, but going.
I do not like this room.
Yeah.
Got a lot of angry Metroids.
So once we make it to this platform, things are a little better. I really like the 100% strat in this room to grab the item, grab onto an item or lock on point with scan, and just dash from that platform all the way over.
Yeah,
But getting, yeah, that was good. Getting across the big phase-on gap and getting to where the item is can be a bit tricky based on how some of the enemies in the room want to cooperate and how well your nerves and hands want to play together at the late stage of the run.
All right, now time for my actual least favorite room in the game. And it's over.
Oh yeah, see, that room's fine. Nothing bad has ever happened to anybody in Fungal Hall A.
Right. You just haven't looked what's inside the closet. Wait, what the heck?
Nice instant.
I didn't know it was a thing. Okay. Well, anyways, that was Fungal Hall A, and here's Fungal Hall B. The, I'd say, more popular younger brother. At least to me. Oh, this Metroid's angry. Please don't hit me. Please don't hurt me. I have family. Yeah, these Metroids will gang up on you really quickly if you're not careful. Alright, here's MQB.
No. This is another room that has kind of a limited window on how quickly you can get the fastest strat to move through the room. The space, or I guess the beam pirates right behind you that are only vulnerable to plasma can be a giant pain and start shooting you and hitting you with their knockback, which is quite extreme. Each volley of shots has their own set of knockback values. And if they start shooting you while you're trying to dash, they can eat your momentum. Here, Jeff, you take Omega Pirate.
Sure, why not? Yeah, so as you can see, Omega Pirate is not active because we approached it from the side. It has the exact same AI as the Elite Pirates and the Phazon Elite, so as long as Sam continues to strafe to the side, it will not activate. Now Sam is laying a power bomb right as it's laughing. You get the fun little dance, and that is Trooper Skip. Well, an attempt at it. If you time it correctly, these that power bomb, these pirates will not spawn. Thankfully, power troopers are pretty easy to get rid of. And now we have quite a few ways to get rid of Omega Pirate's health. Sam, will we be doing the super missile strat?
Definitely
Guess you focused. Yeah, I guess I'm thinking of the any percent plasma one more. So by shooting two regular missiles and then a super and then a series of two more supers, we can one cycle the Omega Pirate. And Sam knows exactly where the Omega Pirate's going to spawn because it'll always spawn in that that first pool, and then it won't spawn in the previous pool or the one closest to Samus. So by positioning yourself in the right spots, you can force the Omega Pirate to spawn in the pools that you want and know exactly where it's going to be. So very nicely done.
Yeah, very, very clean one cycle there.
Now we get best colored suit.
Orange.
Is it though?
Oh boy. Orange versus
So
green.
Phazon
is
suit.
here.
Yeah.
It never
Phazon
left.
suit is a very, very important item. The blue goo that has been making that spicy little sizzle sound deals exponential damage to Samus based off on how long she's been standing in it. Phazon suit makes you immune to it, which is really, really important because of the room that we got the funky instant unmorph in. There's an artifact there called Artifact of Newborn. It is possible to get the Artifact of Newborn both out of bounds and inbounds with some super precise movement and trick execution. Either whichever method you use to do early newborn. But it's so much safer to just do it with Phazon suit, because if you fail the trick, your run is 100% over. If you mess up early newborn, inbounds or out of bounds, your entire run is dead. And to come this far to lose the run to it is so heartbreaking.
Yes, certainly. You can soft lock very easily out of bounds, and in this round in particular, you don't even have the amount of E-tanks to realistically do early newborn.
Well, that's right, because you put off Frigate until the very end, which has 2 E-tanks.
Yes. But now that we got it, we just make our way back through. Thankfully, the layer here has changed as a result of going through this room already, so we can just use the Metroids as neat little points of movement. That is a really interesting thing about this game, is that dependent on just where the enemies are or where the scan points are, it can drastically change how a room is gone through.
Yep.
Now, we scanned this scan point to activate the elevator during the Omega Pirate fight while we had some downtime, so we can just go through it immediately. Oh, I was terrified I was going to fall there. But we good.
Yeah.
So that is almost all of Lower Mines done. We have one more little friendly fellow in the wall. Oh, speaking of friendly fellows, not this turret.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, the lock-on wasn't as good there, so it didn't quite hit the turret. It does deal some splash damage. Alright. So all these pirates actually would not normally be here unless you were to have gotten Plasma Beam before coming here, or after coming here, depending on which way you see it.
Yep. The initial layer for that room just has some normal space pirates in the turret, but picking up the plasma beam location changes the layer to have even more pirates that are also beam pirates. So the normal pirates go away completely, and you get a wave pirate, 2 plasma pirates, and 2 power pirates.
Something like that. Although we should also mention the elite pirate there. We're normally supposed to fight it by hitting trigger there. However, you have just enough height to make it over by using that stand bolt.
Similar to the skip used in Control Tower, there is a gap that you can fit in between the front of the fight start trigger and the wall, allowing you to get through there.
Alright.
So long, Calvin.
Yep, let's tell the story of Calvin, shall we?
This guy up here, that one right there, is a giant pain in the butt. If Calvin decides he wants to go downstairs while you are fighting the Phazon Elite, which has the artifact of Warrior, Calvin will effectively tell the Phazon Elite where you are and make him stop doing the manipulation that we like to do, where you circle around.
Do that first.
It's a giant pain, absolute mad lad when he comes downstairs. All my homies hate Calvin. Thankfully, we have super missiles, so as soon as we come in the door, we just pop a super missile off of Calvin and never have to worry about him ever again.
Don't even give him a chance.
Nope.
Nope, never will. So, you're actually supposed to get this first. I was confusing it with 90% where you come back up after fighting this guy. But yeah.
So, named by some of us in the randomizer community, Philip, it takes 24 rapid fire missile shots to the face to kill Philip. So we just strafe around him, and Philip really likes metal, so he headbangs while we're doing laps around him.
Yeah. Shoutouts to metal fans.
There's a few of those in Ben Shaft, I believe.
Alright, so I'm going to power on this now. This room is a little tricky to go through. You can soft log. So thing is that you have to kill a bunch of pirates that are in this room in order to unlock a door that is downstairs or below us. Thing is that that door does not actually appear until you trigger it. So if you were to fight the pirates and then go to the door, it would lock without ever unlocking. And that's bad. So
Very bad.
what we're gonna do instead is we are going to trigger the door right now. There we go. And now when we fight the pirates and kill them, it will unlock the door by setting a trigger to see that, hey, all the pirates are dead. Also, we are going to get a cutscene here because the
Yep.
game gets a little confused.
Oh wow,
Spooky.
that wave pirate just fell out of the ceiling. I am so afraid.
I know I did say Wave Buster was useless, but it is actually useful for this singular room.
Yep. Saves you a little bit of time there fighting those guys.
But you may have also noticed it took about 60 missiles to do that.
Yes, it does use an absurd amount.
Which is why the beam combos are used very sparingly.
Alright,
Speaking of
There you
beam
go,
combos,
Reggie.
the most important one,
Flamethrower.
flamethrower, such a great item
Yes.
with so many uses that totally make sense.
Yes, this guy has quite the place in the, especially the randomizer community.
Ooh.
Also, here's our first introduction to powerbomb drops. There we go.
Oh, thank goodness. It's
Yes.
a bad feel if you don't get the drops.
Yeah. Powerbomb management in this game can punish you severely.
And there's that barrier that we disabled on the way in here.
Yeah.
Correct. So now
Oh,
we
not going
have
for the save word?
wrapped up the if only. Yeah, so now that we've done the loop, what we want to do is go through the remaining checks left in Talon as everything else is now full cleared. And that is composed of the 3 checks in Crashed Frigate, the Overgrown Cavern item at the top of this room called Frigate Crash Site, Frigate Crash Site itself, and the missile that is under the ship where we started the game. There is...
Oh, and how can you forget Artifact of Truth?
of course. I'm a liar, okay? I don't deal with truths. Okay, here's our first check. It's this energy tank here in this room called Hydroaxis Tunnel. Very fun to
This
do
is,
without gravity.
Yep. This is one of my personal favorite audio tracks in the entire game. Unfortunately, if you're hearing it, it means that you're in the slowest location set in the entire game.
Yep.
Few things are slower than this segment right here.
Yep.
Thankfully, at least we're doing it backwards so we don't have to hit all the thermal conduits.
Yes, so that is the benefit of this
Yes.
route, is because the Mines Loop actually permits us to go back to Frigate backwards, which, if you're wondering, is definitely not intentional. You were normally supposed to go through... That was the wrong container. You are normally supposed to go through a series of activating conduits and watching the cutscene and scaling rooms. But if you go backwards, you just mitigate all of that because you do that to activate doors, but when you go backwards, the doors are already there.
Yep, except for one, which we are not going to have automatically activated for us, and we're going to do a very fun UBJ.
Yes. Very unorthodox trick, to say the least.
Yep.
Also, I'm going to try this
In-
room strat.
Ooh.
Did not get it, unfortunately.
Oh.
You have to make a tricky dash there onto that platform. That is okay. This room is
That's neat.
quite easy to reverse with gravity.
A strat to actually use thermal visor, I like it.
Yes.
Yeah, imagine.
Thermal visor does provide some very niche use cases to where you can have a new point to dash off of. Oof.
Oh, off of down.
Yes. Yeah, there's another instance of limited influence. Ooh, especially
Ooh,
there.
oh, you
Yeah. These pirates will knock you off. And thing is, they don't throw you in the air. So when you get knockback and you fall off a ledge, you're just gonna have to take the fall. So yeah, that's another reason why flying pirates are worst enemy in the game. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yep. All right. So a UBJ is done by exploiting the bomb refill timer. So I'm going to burn a bomb and then lay 5 bombs in a very specific succession to get extra height that you would normally not be able to get using the intended double bomb jump mechanic.
Yes, it is very tricky.
So UBJs have a pretty set BPM. So it's actually possible to listen to a metronome recording of what the, oh, so close, of what the timing is for this to ingrain it into your head.
There we go.
Very nice.
You can actually use boost ball to make it a little easier there. It is a little weird to traverse out of bounds here. You can get an instant unmorph jump, but unfortunately didn't get the instant unmorph for it. That is okay. We just have to wait for a little bit to get a jump because we are floating up into the aether.
Yep. And the whole point of doing this is the door that's in front of Sam right now is not active, but that thermal conduit right there can be shot from out of bounds, and then the same manner of vent in the ceiling that Sam went out through is able to come back in and continue progressing through the rest of Frigate to get out the front.
Yep. Looking at where you're going is overrated. Yeah, that trick is a little tricky, but did get it eventually.
Trick is tricky.
It's tricky to UBJ and save some time.
I'm going to remember to pick up this item because in my PB I didn't actually get this item.
No.
And then I had to look at the map for about a solid 50 seconds and realize, oh, that's right. I think that is my biggest fear when I started getting the hundo, is just forgetting an item check. Speaking of which,
Yeah,
this item.
this one. There we go.
Yes.
All right, and now we just have 2 left.
Yes, and we will be seeing final bosses here in a second. And we've got a lot of interesting things to share with it.
Yeah. Jeff, do you want to take the chicken?
Yes, please.
All right.
Yep, we've got something a little spicy to share.
Do we get it? Of course we do.
Nice.
That was a really, really good one too.
Yes, that is a ship dash. If you do a really, really strong dash from the ship there, you can actually make it all the way to the platform. You can even make it right in front of the door, although I believe that requires a 1-frame scan dash, which is very tough.
You have
Because,
to, yeah.
yeah, hitting the B button for less time means more speed. So, doing it for 1 frame means the most.
So now we have a long wait as Artifact Temple loads.
Yep, feel free to UBJ, draw a smiley face, all the sorts.
Yeah, so I'll start with Ridley now. Collecting this last artifact will allow us to fight Ridley, one of the final bosses of the game. It'll allow us to reach Impact Crater. Ridley has 2 phases, a flying phase and a ground phase. The flying phase makes up about 2/3 of the total health bar, and it is really slow to fight Ridley in the air. And by using an exploit where the Ridley is not immune to boost ball damage, when Ridley lands, we can actually boost into it and completely eliminate the flying phase.
Speaking of eliminating flying phase.
Yeah.
Nicely.
So So that bunch of pause buffering that Sam was doing was lining up Ridley for a flyby skip. Usually the flyby phase, we'll just see Ridley flying around shooting some air shots, and it takes about 20 to 30 seconds. So by skipping it, Ridley instantly lands on the ground, boosts into it, and there goes the big chunk of health that I was talking about.
Yep.
And
It is a frame
now
perfect
it's
trick.
yeah.
Flyby skip, that is.
And now we're just kind of juggling, shooting Ridley in the mouth to stun and spamming missiles to deal the damage. Unfortunately, when Ridley rears back for the charge attack, but with some practice, you can get it fairly consistent.
Yes. And as you may have seen, when I stunned Ridley, I wasn't able to deal any damage. And that is because Retro decided to give him some weird frames where if you stun him, he will just be invincible to all damage for the time he is stunned.
It happens if you stun him either too early in the vulnerability period or too late in the vulnerability period.
Yep,
Yeah, that flyby skip was just discovered this year, correct?
it was really recent, so I'm not certain.
I think it was in the last 12 months at least, maybe not in 2023, but
In the last
Speaking
calendar
of
year, I
skipping,
think that's
however,
accurate.
we got a big
Yeah,
one coming up.
All right. For marathon strats, we are going to save here. So what we're gonna do is we are going to abuse a Metroid to knock us through a little hole in the floor. There we go. And go out of bounds and do a wall crawl that will allow us to skip the entirety of the first phase of the final boss, Metroid Prime Exoskeleton. So Sam's going to boost across here to quickly get through, transition the room to de-aggro the Metroids, and then re-enter to aggravate the one from the bottom of the room and bring it upstairs. So Sam's then going to barely be inside this room, but not transition, get grabbed by the Metroid, bomb jump it off of it, or, ooh, there we go. Wow, nice setup. And then pause buffer so that when he can see the morph ball disappears, he's gonna unmorph. Tried to go for an instant unmorph jump, which is pretty fresh there. And then we're gonna get some standable, jump out into the ether box here, and then we're going to climb up.
Ow.
So that finding the corner, since when you walk out of an ether box, you have limited influence because it's treated the same as walking off of standable. We like to do climbing of tall room ether boxes in the corner of them, so if you move out and you don't get the 3-frame window to input your jump, that you just fall into the other corner or the other side of the corner, which makes the whole process way safer. Falling to the bottom of this room after doing all of the ether jumps off of a single plane would hurt a lot.
Yes, thank God for corners. Thankfully, Retro took notice that falling off a ledge and not being able to move whatsoever was a bad thing, and they patched it out in later games.
Yep. Here we go. So now we have hit some triggers, or hit a trigger to load this room. Now Sam needs to be very, very careful to not hit 2 specific triggers in this room. The first one is the one that starts the Exo fight cutscene. And then the second one is the one that transitions Samus from Phazon Infusion Chamber
This one.
into Subchamber 1. So there we go. Things are much safer now. So we are going to say hello to fake Exo right here. The unfortunate part to this wall crawl sequence is that unmorphing will always try to pull Samus to look at Exo. So it can make our movement a little tricky in the later pieces of the wall crawl. but we're just going to pass through the transition triggers in between these subchambers. Done perfectly, Exoskip saves a really close to 2 minutes,
For
which is
Hundo, it's a little
huge.
less because we got super combos, so it's a little bit more
Yeah.
demanding on your movement.
Yeah, it's closer a little bit to about a minute and a half in a hundo situation.
Fortunately, collision here is pretty 50-50 about whether or not you'll get a standable. Got one there. There we go.
There we go. Boom.
Nice
So then
done.
transitioning into the room and hitting a trigger there will pull Samus back inbounds. And we've completely skipped the exoskeleton fight. And now we get Metroid Prime Essence. We've skipped our King Crab, and now we're going for Calamari. Oh my god, I forgot that you don't get music.
Wow, that is... yeah. Pretty underwhelming.
So Essence has a vulnerability to Phazon that it drops. You hard require Phazon suit to beat the game because of this fight. So Sam is going to space out the attacks on Essence so that it's starting to take an action. Then we're going to cancel that action by damaging it, allowing the fight to progress much faster. So we're going to do 2 phases of that, one in X-ray and one in thermal, because it changes its visibility spectrum. And then in the third pool, we're going to do some pool cancels instead of attack cancels to lengthen the amount of time we have in the pool to deal damage. Come on, Essence. There we go.
Got a little close to a pool skip, which might be worth mentioning.
Yeah, if the squid is too close to the dead crab, it will completely skip dropping a pool, which is the worst possible thing that can happen in this fight in a speedrun setting. So here we can see Sam stepping into and out of the pool to maximize the amount of damage available to us. It should be plenty
Time.
and
G.
time. GG, Sam.
Yeah, pretty solid run. Pretty decent. I think I'm... Actually, I'm not sure of this one. I'm bad at timing right now.
What's your RTA?
151.16.
Okay.
But I feel like...
That's right. This route is slightly different
Yes.
than the one that I play, so the timing will be different.
The RTA is actually faster here than in most of the routes compared to others.
What's your PB?
It's a 131.
131. Okay.
Do you want to guess how much ahead I am according to this?
What's your RTA above behind off of PB? Do you know?
It is about 1 hour and 56 minutes, a little over that.
Okay. Is this your first run on new route?
Nope.
No? And you have a 151 right now.
Correct.
I'm gonna
Look at the
guess
math.
you
Look at the-
have.
Mathematics.
I'm
Calculating
gonna guess that you
IDT is very
have a
interesting.
mid 128.
We will see. Also, since you get 100% of pickups, you get to see same without a helmet off. See the very, honestly, kind of disturbing model, to be honest. Eyes are a little weird.
Wait.
It's not that bad.
Wait, Metroid's a girl?
Metroid is a girl.
I can't.
I don't know, the blinking kind of puts me off a bit. But yeah, that was...
It's better than Echoes' Hundo ending.
Yeah. Yeah, that was Metroid Prime 100%. This is the route I'm using is the second fastest route. There is a faster one that is significantly more difficult to do, but very, very good route. And we are going to see with our IGTs, since Metroid Prime 100% and most main categories are time with the in-game time. We got a Reggie prediction of a mid 128. We will see. It will be close. Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Way under.
Incredible. 125 is very solid.
Congratulations. So that's a 6-minute IGT PB for you.
Not bad, yeah. Really solid.
Not bad. He says to his 6-minute PB.
I mean, I feel like I could have gotten more. But you know,
It is pretty okay.
It is really solid. Okay, yeah. I think Hundo's definitely really fun. I really hope to see it again with the other 2 primes. We're planning on having Prime Trilogy, all 3 primes submitted for Hundo. So that way we get the sort of full scope of every single Prime game. Really excited to see that, if it does happen.
Yeah, I really like that idea. I think it's a cool kind of like block if it makes it in. It's definitely a cool idea you guys had.
Yeah, I gotta keep playing more Hundo. Well, anyways, thank you so much to my comms for working with me. Just wanted to say that.
Of course.
Absolutely.
Big
Thank
props.
you for inviting.
Of course, yeah. This was a lot of fun. Alright. I am going to cut the recording. Would you guys like to say anything before we go?
See you next mission.
Yeah. We'll see you next mission. Metroid Prime is new and good.
Yep. Alright. See you around, folks.